Welcome back to this new inspirational video. Today I wanted to go over a little paragraph from the book The Science of Getting Rich, which was written by Wattles. I actually narrated the whole book and it's in a playlist, but there's still specific parts here that we should never lose track of. One of these is in a chapter called Increasing Life. Almost at the very end, Wallace wrote the following: "Never look at the visible supply. Look always at the limitless riches in formless substance, and know that they are coming to you as fast as you can receive and use them. Nobody, by cornering the visible supply, can prevent you from getting what is yours." Now this is a huge statement to make, because we're always confronted with stuff physically that we may not agree with, that we feel like is in the way of our success, of us achieving what we want. And yet here he is, telling us, just like Neville Goddard would say, don't look at the visible supply. Neville Goddard would say, well, your senses are going to deny what you want. Don't do it. Don't allow them to deny what you want. That's what happens to most people. They allow it to deny their very things that they would like to have. Now, this whole quotation from Wallace is very fascinating, because he uses the term, the invisible supply, the formless substance, this and that. Well, let's change that around a little bit to make it easier to grasp what's happening here. When he says never look at the visible supply, you could say, well, don't use your senses to just look at how things are, because then you might not see evidence of what you want to realize. That happens to all of us all the time. The issue is that we're raised to live through the senses only, and therefore we go along with it, and then we feel bad and we feel we can't achieve stuff and we can't get things, we can't realize our dreams, etc. So first of all, he's saying don't use your senses only, because it's not going to do you any good. Only use the senses to move through the physical world. That much is clear. Now look always at the limitless riches in formless supply. Let's change that sentence around, so it makes a little more sense perhaps. Look always at the riches, the limitless riches in your imagination. You see, I changed the words around, formless substance to imagination. Because to me, imagination is like the formless substance. And there are limitless riches. How can you profit by using your imagination? By understanding that everything made by humans is made through their imagination. We could perhaps take it a step further, say that everything in the universe is made by divine, universal imagination. But for most people that is just too much to comprehend, even for me at times, to actually truly comprehend that statement. But if we do it back to the human level, it actually makes a lot of sense, because everything that we're currently using was first imagined in the mind of mankind. So first we imagine, and then we figure out how to create it physically or do something physically. So in this case, the riches of your imagination are limitless, because you can learn to keep on imagining greater and better ways to serve humanity, if it comes down to money, that is. You see, because you earn money by doing things for humanity. That's just the way it is. You earn it by serving humanity. And we're living in a day and age where it becomes increasingly more interesting, our ability to serve humanity globally through technology, and it's just going to keep going in that direction. Some people are afraid of that, but perhaps, I'm not going to lie, perhaps it is because some people or many people have not really learned how to use their imagination creatively yet, and specifically. So then if they're just dependent on physical means of serving humans, then technology might be intimidating, because they're like, well, then it comes down to you creating stuff that you can then share, in this case through the internet, as I'm doing. Then you have to have the ability to create stuff. But you can do it, so don't worry about it. If you don't know how to do it, just figure out how to do it. You can always figure it out. There's so much information out there available to us through the internet alone, that you can figure out how to do almost anything you want. Now, of course, you have to be careful you don't walk into scams, because they're out there, people just claiming stuff, and then they want your money, and then they don't help you figure anything out at all. But here on YouTube, at least with my channel, and I know many other channels, we're just freely sharing the information around for you to hopefully gain some insights on how to improve your life for the better. So this whole quotation is absolutely important for you to grasp and to apply and to work with. Never look at the visible supply. Never use your senses to look at the visible supply. You can use your senses to look at how things are and then decide, is this how I like it? or do I want something better? Because once you realize you want something better, it actually comes from the imagination, because you can somehow sense and see in your mind, if this were in this way, if my success was at this height, or if my home was in this manner, or if my bank account had this amount of money. You see, it already happens in your imagination. You're already using the formless substance unconsciously, but we're not aware of it most of the time. So we then start to look always at the limitless riches in that formless substance in our imagination. And we know that they are coming to us, to you, to me, as fast as you can receive and use them. Nobody by cornering the visible supply can prevent you from getting what is yours. Now that's a huge statement. That last line is very huge to claim. Nobody by cornering the visible supply can prevent you from getting what is yours. Now why is that? Because your physical life is not the only thing to you at all. So even if somebody somehow were to be able to prevent you from getting what you want, physically speaking, spiritually speaking, you can still do it. Now this is the issue, is that we are not that familiar with the spiritual realms of life, and to a certain degree we're all going to face those spiritual realms when the time arrives, when we pass on, when we move out of this body. But many spiritual texts have taught us and actually warned us that it's very useful to actually take time to become familiar with these spiritual realms while we're here physically. So that way it's like preparing yourself for the next stage of your eternal journey by being familiar with it already, at least having some sort of insight on what is awaiting us. And then as you learn about it more and more, you realize that nobody by cornering the visible supply can prevent you from getting what is yours. Also means that if they were to try to do that through dictatorship, to all the negatives, to all the grotesque things, physically speaking, that might occur, then we still have the power of imagination and the spiritual realms through which we can enjoy it. In fact, last night, when I go to sleep, sometimes I have dreams where I'm enjoying the fulfillment of what I would physically like to have. And then it's just as much fun as I would have if it were physically here. So to me, it's like, it's not a big deal for me whether I get it physically as well. I'm just doing physically what I can and what I'm compelled to do, because hey, as long as I'm here, in a way it is my duty, as the Upanishads would also say, it is our duty to actually make use of our minds and to create stuff and to do things and to go for those dreams that we aspire to achieve, because that way we are indirectly serving humanity. That's also the beauty of learning to look at the formless substance. You learn to look at the dreams, the limitless riches of your imagination, and give them expression in time-space reality, and this automatically lifts at least one person up, not just you yourself, but there's always going to be some people at least out there that benefit from what you do, and because of it, it is absolutely invaluable. It's absolutely precious in the eyes of God. That much you must know, that much you should trust in. It is only our ego that might then be like, I am not reaching enough, or I should reach way more people, and then so that people can, be amazed at what you have achieved physically. That's kind of the egoic mind also stepping in there. But if it's meant to happen for you, if you're meant to do great things on a massive scale, then it will also happen, as long as you pursue your dreams, as long as you're doing what you're passionate about. And you can only do that by doing exactly what Wallace said. By not looking at the visible supply, by looking at how things are, but by learning to look at the limitless riches in formless substance, also known as your imagination, because that is where all the inventions and improvements and evolution physically comes from that humans create. When I say evolution, I mean in objects. For example, computers, all the technology that we use now always started in a very different manner. Like, I remember being told at least that computers used to be very huge, and in an age when I wasn't physically here yet. But now even your phone can serve like almost a computer. You can play games on it even. And it's very tiny, so it has evolved. It's kind of a form of evolution. But again, it happened through the power of imagination, by people becoming aware of how to do it bigger and better, more effectively, and seeing in their mind's eye, this is how we can do it, let's do it, I think this is the way. You see, it came from the formless substance of their minds, and you have that same access to the formless substance, and it is through the gateway of imagination. Now, know that they are coming to you. Know that the things you need are coming to you as fast as you can receive and use them. So first you receive them as a hunch, as an inspiration, and then you become in the ability, in the place, in the position to use them. So you have dreams, and then at first you can't act on all aspects of your dreams, but elements of that dream are gonna come to you. You receive them through hunches and intuition and inspiration, and then there's elements already that you can use and act upon. This is exactly what happened for me, and I see it happen for other people as well. They are growing and expanding in their own way with their goals, and it's absolutely fascinating how that happened. They just started doing it. They started applying their own imagination towards their lives, and wonderful things started to occur, and it can and will be the same for you if you trust in the process and make use of it. Learn to work with it. Never look at the visible supply. Look always at the limitless riches in formless substance, your imagination. Now, if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing to receive inspirational videos on a regular basis. And with that being said, dear viewer, never forget that we are the dreamers.